Lee Sung-min is summoned to a perilous world of monsters, appearing as nothing more than a helpless, penniless boy. Labeled as a no-class loser, he meets a seemingly kind man offering survival tips in this cruel new reality. The man offers him water, but Sung-min takes one sip and sprays it directly into the traitor's face. The drugged liquid blinds the man instantly. Sung-min isn't a victim, he's a battle-hardened veteran who saw the trap. He executes the slave trader without mercy. Now, it's time to inspect his new, fragile physical form. What a shock. In his past life, Sung-min was a mediocre 27-year-old mercenary who died in a dungeon. A mysterious stone sent his soul back in time. He's 13 again, but his powerful adult body is gone. His muscles have vanished, and his stats are reset. Yet, his memories of top-tier techniques remain perfectly intact. First, he seeks the bone-forging master to upgrade his skeleton, allowing him to master martial arts at God's speed. That master won't live long, so he moves fast. Next, mastering the divine cultivation to manifest inner energy. His ultimate goal? A legendary tournament 1 year away. The prize is the key to his world domination. He has 12 months to evolve from a weakling to a god. The grind for absolute power starts now. He cons a blacksmith with a puppy eyes act, scoring a shield and weapon through pure, shameless manipulation. The blacksmith yields to the kid's audacity. Armed and dangerous, Sung-min heads straight for the hunting grounds. In his past life, he was the prey. Now, he returns as the ultimate predator, ready to reclaim his throne. A goblin out for a stroll? Sung-min's spear whistles through the air, impaling its throat in one strike. His hands burn from the raw power of the technique. This is just the beginning of his legendary comeback. He pays the innkeeper with monster loot stored in a dimensional bag. His hidden mastery is finally showing results. 2 weeks of relentless hunting pass. On paper, he's a nobody. In reality, he's a growing monster. He checks his status. Still a low-rank warrior, but his past-life combat instincts are sharp as a razor. The innkeeper's daughter begs him to quit, fearing the boy will lose his life in the monster-infested woods. She offers him a safe job at the inn, but Sung-min refuses. He's done living as a coward. He will reach the peak this time. Suddenly, the summoning bell rings. A new hero has just arrived. It's another kid. Scammers immediately try to drug him. Sung-min tries to ignore it and walk away, but a massive thug blocks his path. The brute demands compensation after a staged accident and strikes him. The thug is a rank 3 warrior. Sung-min is currently underpowered, his body unable to match his mind. Sung-min roars a warning about the poison. Enraged, the thug lunges forward to crush the meddling brat. Using flash step, Sung-min dodges and hammers a reinforced strike into the thug's ribs with surgical precision. He rains down blows, but the level gap is too wide. His current strength barely scratches the armored bully. Just as things get dire, the new kid steps in, looking at Sung-min with pure, glittering admiration. With one effortless palm strike, the kid sends the massive thug flying across the square like a rag doll. Sung-min is frozen in shock. This isn't a normal child, it's a peak-level master summoned alongside him. This is the little heavenly demon, 𝑦𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔𝒕, the legendary future sovereign of the feared blood cult. While Sung-min was a mere mercenary, this genius was a god among men. Destiny has truly shifted. 𝑦𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔𝒕 is sulking because his cult doesn't exist here. Sung-min quickly apologizes for his earlier rude behavior. Seeing the kid's godlike power, Sung-min bows. 𝑦𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔 smiles and makes an offer that changes everything. "I'll teach you my ultimate martial arts," the demon says. But there is one very strange condition. Sung-min must become his first-ever friend. The battle-hardened mercenary is left completely stunned and speechless. 𝑦𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔 spent his childhood in blood and solitude, raised only to be a weapon of mass destruction. He just wants a partner in crime to cause chaos with, a brother to stand beside him at the top. Before Sung-min can process the absurdity, their legendary, frosty friendship begins. The world isn't ready. Since he was a child, Hyun yearned for a true companion, misled by the legendary tales of friendship found in ancient scrolls. His father, the ruthless heavenly demon, shattered those dreams with cold reality. Yet here he was, demanding a sworn brotherhood. Bound by the brutal training of the demonic cult since infancy, Hyun's only desire was a partner in crime for his antics. Before Sung-min could even process the absurdity, he was dragged into a chilling bond with this 27-year-old madman. Master Hyun began teaching the 13-year-old boy the amethyst's secret art, a technique to condense internal energy into violet flames. This heavenly demon art was reserved only for leaders, yet after only 1 month of training, his progress was already defying logic. Despite crushing countless monsters, he remained stuck at a mediocre rank, but a massive shadow suddenly loomed behind his back. An orc lunged with a massive mace, but Sungmin dodged with predator-like instincts, his eyes scanning the forest for more threats. Finding only one stray beast, he delivered a lethal strike directly to its heart, ending the creature's life in an instant. While Sungmin wondered why a lone orc was here, a shadowy figure finally emerged from the tree line, the man who had been watching. It was 𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓, known as the Ruinous Orchid Blade, the very rat who had lured the beast there to test the boy's limits. 𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 led him to the capital to meet a crew of mercenaries, including a sinister dwarf named Sang Irang, a lowly noble. Beside them stood 𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓, a mage who commanded gravity, explaining that orc warbands were now ravaging nearby villages. These monsters were conducting organized massacres, prompting the kingdom to place a massive bounty on the heads of their entire tribe. Joining them meant a share of 7 million gold, but Sungmin sensed a foul stench of treachery wafting from this group. Despite the red flags, the reward was too great to ignore, so he agreed, noticing 2 exhausted porters slumped in the corner. These classless workers did the dirty labor for crumbs, a sight that made 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 face twist into a mask of pure arrogance. They moved out toward the occupied village, but Sungmin could see the sinister intentions hiding behind 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓's greedy eyes. The plan was simple. Rania would use scent, masking magic to lure the beasts, while the rest waited in ambush outside. The dwarf would then fire a signal to draw the remaining horde, a classic pincer movement designed for maximum slaughter. They soon found the bone-chilling skull totems marking orc territory, and the mercenary team began to split into their assigned roles. Watching a porter named Brass struggle under his heavy load, Sungmin saw a reflection of his own agonizing past life. He urged the old man to run while he still could, knowing that staying with these snakes would only lead to a grave. But escape was impossible. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 prepared the signal flare while Sungmin pulled a massive jug from his dimensional storage bag. He poured water to create thick mud, coating himself to mask his scent just as the flare screamed into the dark sky. The monsters swarmed, and the cowardly 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 tried to push old Brass forward as live bait, threatening to kill him if he refused. Disgusted, Sungmin stepped up as the vanguard, facing 13 massive orcs that came charging out from the dense forest shadows. He blurred forward, his spear dancing through the air to slit one throat and shatter the jaw of another with efficiency. Recalling his master's wisdom, he focused on his reach, wielding the 3rd form of the soul spear to dominate the battlefield. In a flash of steel, he disemboweled 3 orcs at once, while 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 finally joined the fray, sensing the tide had turned. As a beast lunged at Brass, Sungmin's spear flashed like lightning, piercing its chest and saving the old man from death. The slaughter ended in seconds, but as 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 began harvesting orc ears for the bounty, the air grew cold with killing intent. He tossed the trophies to Brass, but behind the scenes, a dark signal passed between the mercenaries. The real hunt was beginning. As Brass whispered his thanks for the rescue, the treacherous Wang Pi shared a sinister look with the smiling 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓. Without warning, a dagger buried itself in the mage Renia's chest, her lifeblood spilling onto the earth as she died instantly. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 swung his blade at the dwarf's head, but Sungmin's spear intervened, blocking the strike with a thunderous metallic ring. Before his regression, Sungmin had witnessed 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓's execution for murdering his own teammates, and he wouldn't let history repeat. Now, he had the chance to stop the slaughter before it started, his spear leveled at the man he once feared. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 laughed, convinced his superior rank would win, but Sungmin had already predicted every single one of the villain's movements. Using his spear's superior reach, Sungmin drew first blood, smiling as 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 suddenly began coughing up dark, thick gore. He had laced the mud with slow-acting poison earlier, and now a desperate 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 grabbed Brass to use as a human shield. Sungmin felt a pang of frustration. He only cared for the old man because they shared the same tragic, lowly origins. While the others were locked in a chaotic battle, Sungmin knew he couldn't hesitate, but Brass suddenly made his move. The old porter tripped 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 and pinned him down, receiving a fatal stab in return as he sacrificed his life for the boy. Ignoring the villain's pathetic pleas for mercy, Sungmin drove his spear home, sending 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 to hell to accompany poor Brass. Returning home exhausted, Master Hyun immediately smelled the stench of fresh blood clinging to the young boy's clothes and soul. Hyun realized Sungmin was hiding a terrifying secret, as he possessed a drive far different from the broken spirits in the city. While other classless wanderers were nothing but beggars, Sungmin burned with a lethal vitality that defied his young age. For a 14-year-old boy to hunt monsters with such cold precision was impossible, unless he was something else entirely. Sungmin was once a pathetic loser, yet miraculously mastered elite spear techniques in just 2 months. This suspicious growth forced a tense confrontation. Both warriors stood in a dark, suffocating silence. Everyone hides a shadow. Hyun, desperate for the truth, began sweating through a nervous negotiation. In exchange for his secret, Hyun offered 20 years of pure inner power and forbidden arts. Driven by necessity, Sungmin agreed, but only if his life was spared after the reveal. Secrets are bared. Young Master Hyun is actually a girl, forced to hide her gender by her father. She obeyed to please him. Stunned, Sungmin finally confesses his own secret. He is a regressor. Hyun is skeptical, yet it makes sense. In a world of summons, nothing is truly impossible anymore. Sungmin feared execution for knowing the truth, but Hyun saw only loyalty, never a single lie. 2 months of struggle forged a bond. To Hyun, Sungmin is now her cherished, sworn brother. Moved to tears, Sungmin is speechless. Yet Hyun is disappointed 2 lives and still a weakling. Pitying his pathetic state, she keeps her promise. A direct transfer of her legendary internal chi. This sacred energy grants martial artists supernatural power, a divine gift rarely shared with any outsider. The ritual is lethal, but to escape his trash status, Sungmin must endure this hellish pain. Agony turns to power as a purple aura explodes. He survives the brink, reborn in shimmering light. He retained only half the energy, but his meridians are cleared. The waste is now a warrior. Hyun collapses, breathless. She saved him because he is her first friend, and she won't let him die. She silences his thanks with a punch, then demands to hear about her future self's legendary fate. Lying under the stars, he tells her. In the past, she was a peerless ruler who vanished. Rumors said she dominated area with absolute strength before disappearing into the shadows for 3 years. Trapped in the cage of being a cult successor, she yearns for absolute freedom above all. She decides to wander the world in 1 month, after teaching him the 9 Heavens spear. She will vanish soon. Sungmin remains lost, unsure of his purpose despite this second chance. 1 month later, it's time. A final duel begins. Sungmin lunges, his spear tip flashing dangerously. Hyun grants him a head start. He unleashes the 9 Heavens style with newfound, explosive speed. He fuses it with soul-chasing arts. A lethal, forbidden strike aims directly for Hyun's vital points. The strike is perfect, but Hyun just smiles. With one hand, she deflects the unstoppable blow. Sungmin unleashes the light-splitting spear. Yet, Hyun blocks every strike effortlessly. Her defense is flawless. She redirects the force, crushing his momentum entirely. A perfect parry followed by a lethal counter that was Hyun's mastery. Even with his inner power surging, Hyun treats his strikes like child's play. The gap is abysmal. Before him stands a zenith-level martial god. At the 20th strike, his spear grazes her face, forcing a sudden retreat. A total defeat. Yet, Hyun senses a flicker of true talent within him. She grants him 10 years, a vow to meet again at the peak. Hyun challenges him. Make me your goal. Chase me if you dare. But Sungmin hesitates. Can a mere mortal ever reach her level? The shadows of his past life haunt him, whisperings of his mediocrity. Yet, secret arts change everything. In months, he reaches the 2nd rank. Fury replaces doubt. His eyes turn cold, fixed on a singular purpose. 10 years from now, he'll pierce her heart. Hyun simply smiles, unfazed. With a final promise, they part ways, heading toward their own destinies. 10 months later, Sungmin enters the unclassed tournament, claiming top rank. Low-tier warriors fall like wheat. 1 strike is all it takes. The prize, a celestial pill. The key to unlocking his true potential. After clearing his debts, Sungmin receives a legendary spatial bag with 1.5 times capacity. A heartfelt parting gift from the vendor, making our hero choke up with gratitude. Just as he packs, Luca blocks his path. Most leave instantly, but not him. Sungmin's year-long stay made parting painful. Even the innkeeper gifted him a vintage cloak. It's an old relic imbued with thermal magic and combat buffs perfect for his journey. Though a bit oversized, Sung-min is thrilled. But Luca shouts one final, desperate warning. Don't die. Vanessa will always be your home. Sung-min graduated in record time. With memories tucked away, he turns toward Mount M, a realm of gods and monsters. A masked man bound in thorns awaits. Sung-min remembers his 10-year pact. He has 9 years left before meeting the heavenly demon. He refuses to be weak again. To transcend his limits, Sung-min enters Mount M, the ultimate training ground for legends. By branding his soul with forbidden oaths, his growth rate will explode 100-fold. A mysterious priest initiates the ritual. Sung-min's true path to power begins now. The first curse. Weight. Every atom on his body now weighs a ton. Even eating is torture. Bread tastes like ash and turns into crawling insects. The second curse. Taste. Every morsel becomes a putrid, writhing nightmare in his mouth. On the verge of quitting, the image of his rival's smug face fuels his rage. He swallows the filth, fueling his resolve. Suddenly, a phantom voice mocks his weakness. He's alone, yet haunted. A week passes as he hunts a deer with iron-heavy limbs. He moves in slow motion. The deer mocks him and vanishes into the woods. Frustrated and broken, he realizes Mount M is a brutal hellscape of survival. Freezing storms and apex predators haunt him. Just as starvation hits, a stone flies. A beautiful warrior appears. Her curse? Eternal silence. She cannot utter a single word. She tosses him the deer. Having watched over this struggling rookie with hidden pity, meet Sogo, a legendary speedster from his past life with a heart as big as her spirit. But terror strikes. In 8 years, she is destined to die by his rival's hand. As he ponders fate, Sogo reappears. Her silent gaze filled with genuine concern for him. Unable to speak, she shows a new mark on her arm, the price of her survival. Curious about other residents, Sung-min follows Sogo to meet the old monsters. She blurs like a gale, then returns to hoist him up like a sack of grain. At god-tier speed, they arrive at a place reeking of ancient, stagnant magic. The stench comes from Scarlet, a mage cursed to never bathe or change clothes. Beside her is 𝑑𝒐𝒘𝒄, a blind master. These are future legends of the continent. They've gathered in this hell, but only Sung-min was crazy enough to take 2 curses. He craves power at any cost. Of the many who came, only 4 remain. Then there's 𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓. Just his name sends a shiver through these hardened warriors. 4 months in, the torture intensifies. Food is literal filth, but his spirit is steel. Power surges. With one strike, a massive tree is reduced to mere splinters. Training by day and cultivating forbidden arts by night, his body is finally transcending. Suddenly, a green-haired figure emerges from the shadows. He's been watching the whole time. It's him, 𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓. The monster genius the others warned him never to cross paths with. A natural-born predator. To meet him is to know the true meaning of despair. 𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒓 eyes Sung-min with curiosity. They are peers in age, but worlds apart in power. Sung-min retreats instantly, only to realize his spear has vanished into thin air. The ultimate disgrace. His weapon was stolen before he could even blink. Sung-min's blood boiled as that parasite mocked him, shamelessly mimicking his signature techniques right before his eyes. With a few lazy swings, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 unleashed the light-splitting strike, reducing the dense forest to absolute splinters. Frozen in shock, Sung-min watched as 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 flashed a venomous, fake smile, feigning innocence like a true snake. He gloated about his effortless genius, mocking those who bleed and sweat just to reach a fraction of his power. While Sogo's crew were prodigies, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 and 𝒂𝒐𝒏𝒂𝒓 were true monsters, natural-born predators in a world of mere mortals. Unlike the humble young master 𝒂𝒐𝒏𝒂𝒓, this loudmouthed fraud couldn't stop barking about his own overrated legendary status. Consumed by rage, Sung-min lunged forward to strike, forgetting in his fury that he'd left his spear behind. But the mountain's sacred laws blocked his blow. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 just laughed, effortlessly catching Sung-min's fist with mocking ease. He twisted Sung-min's arm with a sneer, but froze when Su appeared behind him like a vengeful ghost. Undeterred, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓 taunted the weakling Sung-min, claiming he'd never reach the heights of a 6-star warrior without drastic measures. More forbidden bans mean more power, he hissed before Su silenced him. But the seed of desperation was already planted. Sung-min fled, his heart shattered by humiliation. Su tried to call out, but her silent ban choked her words. Drowning in tears over his lack of talent, He roared into the void, demanding another soul-crushing forbidden ban. Reality warped, pulling him before the god of dreams, a terrifying entity wreathed in a crown of thorns and shadows. Having already sacrificed taste and weight, the god questioned if his fragile vessel could endure even more divine torment. The deity saw through him a soul who had crawled back from death's embrace, desperate enough to gamble everything. Those who defy the laws of causality possess godlike potential, and the god's eyes missed nothing of his rebellion. Yet to the god, Seungmin was just a lucky insect who had cheated his predetermined day of demise. By rewriting his fate, he was now shackled to a mountain of karma that would haunt his very soul. A hellish punishment awaited him in the afterlife. But Seungmin didn't care. He only hungered for power now. Su found him trembling, realizing he'd taken the ultimate risk. He had traded his warmth and his dreams for strength. Now, an eternal chill gripped his bones, and his sleep was plagued by the darkest horrors of his past life. Rest became a luxury he could no longer afford, pushing his mind and body to the absolute brink of collapse. He knew it was madness, but a talentless man must crawl through hell just to stand beside a genius. Moved by his unwavering resolve, Sogo decided to grant him the secret to true speed, the art of lightness. She handed him the Shadowless Spirit Walk, a legendary manual that rivaled the forbidden arts of the great cults. System alert! The Shadowless Spirit Walk was now engraved in his soul. His journey to mastery had finally begun. He unleashed the soul-piercing spear, but Heon countered every strike with terrifying, cold efficiency. He wouldn't back down. He risked it all with the fatal lightning strike, only for Heon to crush his wrists into bloody pulp. To strip him of his path, Heon ruthlessly shattered his dantian, leaving him a crippled shell of a warrior. Seungmin jolted awake, drenched in cold sweat. It was just a nightmare. His body was still intact. Suddenly, Scarlet appeared, prying his eyes open with her eccentric flair to inspect the toll of his forbidden bans. This future archmage and magic swordsman had come only because Su had begged them to aid his desperate training. Presenting a rare magic scroll, Scarlet prepared him for a brutal sparring session against the mountain's strongest elder, Jun. He mastered 4 spells, starting with Mind Purify to cleanse the fog of nightmares and sharpen his focus. Buffs for speed, strength, and recovery followed. Yet he still couldn't last 100 seconds against the monstrous Jun. When the freezing ban paralyzed him, Jun used his profound internal energy to force circulation and warm his blood. Slowly, warmth returned. Since his reincarnation, Seungmin realized he wasn't walking this path of thorns alone, but doubt crept in the Arya was a land of cutthroats, not kindness. Why were these masters helping him? Even Jun and Scarlet couldn't explain why they were giving away secrets that others would kill to possess. They simply couldn't turn their backs on him. Seungmin chalked it up to dumb luck and kept training. 6 months of grueling hell passed. Every swing of the spear left him breathless and gasping for air. That pest flam returned to mock his struggle, unaware that Seungmin had now taken on a vow of silence. Ignoring the maggot's insults, Seungmin swung his spear with a newfound precision that bordered on the divine. His strikes were lethal, and his mastery over Su's lightness art had turned his movements into a blurred phantom. Ignoring the arrogant brat, he focused on training. Humiliated and furious, the blue-clad boy finally snapped. Flam snatched the spear, slamming Seungmin down. He flaunted his power, channeling energy into the weapon. Sword chi erupted, shattering a tree with one touch. Yet, the display failed to intimidate his rival. Seungmin growled, promising to silence that mouth one day. His defiance only fueled the boy's rage. Flam masked his fury with a cold stare, though the splintered tree revealed his true, violent power. After 1 year, Seungmin sought the 6th curse, auditory torment. Ghostly screams now haunted his ears. Despite the maddening noise, his spear never wavered. Day and night, he honed his deadly craft. Mastering secret arts and footwork, he grew stronger. Like a larva, he prepared to shed his skin. As the curses deepened, a divine summons occurred. Seungmin was pulled into a mysterious, hidden space. The hermit revealed that Seungmin had passed the god's trial. Confusion reigned in the young warrior's mind. Flam reappeared, revealed as a mere phantom. He was a trial created for those seeking true power. Seungmin knew something was wrong. His legendary allies had histories, but Flam was a total ghost. He wasn't a real person, but a divine obstacle. While others fled, Seungmin remained unyielding and grim. Lacking natural talent, he relied on pure grit. The gods were amused by his reckless, iron will. Diligence filled the gap where genius failed. A divine reward awaited him once he left the mountain. He continued his grueling crawl toward mastery. He once hated effort, knowing he couldn't catch the gifted. But seeing the struggles of true monsters changed him. His lazy justifications were now completely gone. No more excuses about different starting points. There was only the brutal, forward march into the unknown. In this realm, causality is absolute. Every soul summoned here carries a heavy, destined purpose. Seungmin's regression was no accident. A coming catastrophe required him to be ready at any cost. To pay the price for his rebirth, he had to become worthy. A second chance demands everything. The hermit spoke a forbidden truth, causing her face to twist in pain as reality fractured. Cracks formed in space as the universe reacted. Sensing a threat, the entity quickly retreated in agony. Seungmin was cast out, burdened by a new curse, the suffocating stench of rotting, ancient death. Sogo also endured the loss of taste and smell. Finally, she understood the depth of his suffering. After 2 years, the genius girl prepared to leave. She had reached her goal on this peak. Her departure was expected, but she worried for Seungmin. His lack of restraint was truly dangerous. If he took more curses, he might never return. Yet, he now stood strong enough to survive. Without her, he would have been a nameless corpse. They shared a final, heavy, emotional embrace. Sogo abandoned her rivalry and departed. Soon, Scarlet and the old man followed her down. Now alone, Seungmin was a changed man. He finally learned to trust others in this life. Those bonds kept him alive until this moment. Looking at the sky, the heavy despair finally lifted. 3 years passed, and the little heavenly demon awakened. His spear moved faster than a cicada. To repay Sogo, he planned to stop Hyun. His combat mastery had reached an unbelievable new level. Yet he hungers for more. He accepted the ultimate trial: total blindness. Darkness became his only world. With ears filled with static and eyes sealed shut, he relied solely on raw, sharpened instinct. Time lost all meaning as he thrust his spear. He learned to hear the hidden rhythm of life. He questioned his rebirth until the shadows became his home. His body was now a living weapon. He sought the hermit to break the final seal. Light flooded back, revealing a true, hardened warrior. 3 years of isolation never broke his spirit. His persistence earned the high favor of the gods. They offered him a choice of rewards. After long, careful thought, Seungmin made his fateful move. His body is forged in steel. Now, he must break his final seal. The darkness lifts. Rewards his 3-year mountain trial with divine grace. His unwavering spirit has earned the favor of the gods themselves. A choice of rewards awaits. Seungmin focuses his aura into his spear. Haunted by Hyun's shadow, Mary realizes Seungmin needs a drastic power-up to survive their inevitable clash. She grants him a mysterious crest and sends him to meet the god of time for a trial beyond imagination. Conquering this challenge is the only way to claim the true reward for surviving the hellish flame trial. For enduring 3 years of mountain solitude, Seungmin receives a prestigious offer to join the legendary 𝑺𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔𝒕. With a snap, the broker Nin appears. He initially scoffs at the boy, sensing no hidden greatness within him. Nin claims he lacks the talent, but Mary's divine influence quickly forces the broker into a humble bow. 𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔𝒕 is no ordinary guild. It is a transcendent marketplace, providing everything from mystical elixirs to forbidden arts. From Wudang swordsmanship to rare recovery pills, they have it all, offering premium quality with a deadly price tag. Seeing a literal god like Mary as a member, Seungmin signs a lifetime contract without a second thought. After a quick makeover to shed his rugged mountain look, the broker vanishes into thin air like a ghost. Heading toward Beager, he ponders the mystery of his regression, searching for the true meaning behind his second life. Ambushed by bipedal wolves, Seungmin barely flinches. A single spear strike sends the beasts to their graves instantly. His mountain training bore fruit. At 18, he has ascended to the peak realm, becoming a true master. Though the god Danny is his target, he pivots back to mercenary work to hunt the legendary 𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒄 armor. Hidden in a black mage's tomb, this relic can elevate a common warrior to a peak master in seconds. If he claims it, the transcendent realm awaits. He must infiltrate the raid to seize his path to dominance. At the guild, he demands a license. When the bartender plays dumb, Seungmin decides to show his teeth. With blinding speed, he snatches a fork mid-air. exposing the man as the hidden guildmaster of this branch. Recognizing a peak master's aura, the old man yields. Normally, this earns an S rank, but the boy looks too young. To verify his skills, he's assigned a test alongside Lud, a veteran mercenary with a fierce reputation for combat. Their mission? Hunt an ogre. With magic-resistant skin as hard as tempered steel, it is a nightmare for most. Villagers are in terror, but Seung-min feels something is wrong. This forest is far too small for such a beast. They find a mangled deer carcass. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoes, signaling the arrival of a predator unlike any other. This is no ordinary ogre. With mismatched limbs and terrifying speed, they face a grotesque, magically altered chimera. Chimeras are forbidden fusions. Even one merged with a low-tier goblin possesses power far beyond a B-rank monster. This ogre-based abomination is a death sentence. Terrified, Lud immediately abandons the fight and flees like a coward. But for Seung-min, time slows down. Without the mountain's heavy weight, his body moves like a liberated storm. He dances through the air, utilizing shadowless step to bypass the beast's defense. The Nine Heavens spear technique erupts. To his horror, the strike leaves no mark. The chimera's hide is impenetrable, even against his refined sword chi. The risk is massive, yet the reward is small. Lud screams to retreat, but Seung-min's warrior pride burns bright. Using telepathy, he warns Lud to stay back. He then unleashes the second form, the devastating lightning bolt spear. Each thrust pushes the titan back, yet its resilience is otherworldly. Seung-min focuses his inner energy to the limit. He launches into the sky, channeling his aura into a single, lethal strike aimed directly at the creature's eye. His spear shatters upon impact. Quickly, he pulls a replacement from his subspace bag, maintaining his relentless assault. Despair hits as the eye heals instantly. It possesses the regeneration of a troll, making it virtually unkillable. Facing this immortal horror, the faces of Hyun and Sogo flash in his mind. He cannot fall here today. Recalling Hyun's strict teachings, he executes the 3 core basics. He deflects a massive blow with a perfect parry. Seizing the opening, he unleashes a flurry of strikes. This is the moment a legend rises from the shadows. Spear chi erupts. He leaps high, aiming straight for the chimera's eye. His weapon shatters, but another appears. The beast's eye heals instantly. Infinite regeneration. A surface wound won't bring this nightmare down. Death looms, but he remembers his promise. He cannot fall here. Hyun's voice echoes. Master the basics. Repeat them until they become instinct. The first movement, rotation. He knocks the beast's massive arm aside. The opening is here. He strikes with the fury of a hurricane. As the chimera lunges, Seung-min unleashes a spinning internal force, ensnaring the beast's strike with his spear. The moment its limb touches his blade, the monster's arm twists like a ragdoll as it loses its balance. Seizing the opening, Seung-min drives his spear through its leg, rotating the tip like a lethal drill. He carves deep into the flesh, forcing the beast to its knees, yet it swings a desperate, heavy fist. Noticing its shattered bones instantly knit back together, he strikes again, snapping his spearhead off intentionally. He leaves the blade embedded to halt its regeneration, then pierces deep into the monster's exposed armpit. Activating his second form Thunderbolt Pursuit, he rains down a relentless, frantic barrage of devastating strikes. The chimera struggles to counter, but Seung-min's absolute dominance leaves the beast completely overwhelmed and broken. With one final, blinding thrust, he gouges both its eyes. The weakling of the past is officially dead. No longer a pathetic larva to be mocked, he has emerged. Lud watches, paralyzed by the display. Seung-min stands tall and handsome, unscathed despite the carnage, his only scars being from brutal training. The guild leader is left utterly speechless as Seung-min drags in the mangled corpse of the beast. Taking down such a creature is an SS rank feat, something the guild has never witnessed before. His reward, 27 million gold and an S-rank gold command token. The corpse brings 20 million more. Suddenly swimming in gold, the wealth feels alien to him. He remembers the misery of his past life. Back then, he bled for copper. Now, he's rich but realizes his current spear is utter trash. While he contemplates upgrades, the guild leader uses a magic staff to peer into Lud's memories. Realizing Seung-min is a true monster, the leader trembles. Meanwhile, Seung-min summons Naveen from the shadows. Reflecting on how his cheap weapon nearly failed against the Chimera, he knows he needs legendary steel. High-tier gear is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity for the legendary path ahead. He calls Navin to shop, but even 47 million might not buy 𝒕𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒆𝒔𝒕's finest masterpieces. The master smiths there are legends in the industry. Their work demands a king's ransom to own. Navin tears through space itself, allowing Sungmin to speak directly with the elusive, high-end staff. He meets an elf named Soros and commissions a spear identical to his current design. Soros demands a demonstration of his skills to ensure the weapon perfectly complements his unique martial path. When he doubts her, the 400-year-old elf bristles, boasting of 3.5 centuries of smithing. Despite her claims, she harbors deep insecurity, always living in the shadow of the legendary Smith W. Sungmin showcases his mastery, and moved by his skill, Soros promises top-tier work at a discount. The masterpiece will take months. Returning home, Sungmin plunges back into grueling internal energy cultivation. Training at Mount Muji, he awakens his sixth sense, a vital skill for the legendary battles to come. Energy now flows through him like a river, yet he knows over-reliance is a deadly, foolish trap. He must maintain a perfect balance between his senses. He then investigates the Chimera's dark, mysterious origins. This monster didn't exist in his past life. Soon, the world will discover the Dungeon Master's involvement. He visits the Benner Guild to inspect the corpse, only to find a gruesome, floating welcome. An eyeless, floating head greets him, controlled by the sinister dark mage, Kim Jong-hoon. Hearing Sungmin is Korean, Jong-hoon asks about the gates that bridge their two worlds together. Monsters have crossed over to Earth through those rifts, though perhaps in a parallel reality. Jong-hoon sees the red threads of fate weaving around Sungmin. The future is warping before them. Sungmin realizes he must gather intel. The Chimera was infused with high-level, forbidden sorcery. Its creator is a depraved great mage who even sewed the beast's mouth shut for sport. That explains why the victims were only shredded, not eaten. Jong-hoon then spots something chilling. He realizes Sungmin's laws of causality are twisted. His expression turns sinister, dark, and predatory. Desperate to know why Sungmin's fate is so tangled, Jong-hoon swears a mana vow of secrecy, a vow sealed by death itself. Sungmin finally confesses his truth. He has returned from death. Jong-hoon listens, but his eyes see something even more terrifying lurking within Sungmin's soul. As he spoke of the future, reality began to warp. A deafening roar filled Sungmin's ears, drowning out the forbidden secrets. The price for glimpsing fate was devastating. His very soul felt as though it were being torn from his body. Before he could grasp the truth, he was expelled from the void. Back in the real world, a familiar presence approached. It was Scarlet, looking as wild and unkempt as ever. Without a word of greeting, she planted a heavy fist into his face. She screamed at him to stay away from that lunatic, Jin Hun. Her explosive temper was exactly as he remembered. Despite her violent greeting, her concern was genuine. Sungmin felt a strange shift in the people of this timeline. Why were his old allies treating him so differently now? He brushed the doubt aside and focused on his grueling training. Power was the only thing that mattered. He joined a high-stakes raid with a 50 million gold bounty on the line. Lude stood by his side as a loyal comrade once again. In the heat of battle, he realized he couldn't conquer this world alone. 3 months passed in a flash of blood and sweat. Suddenly, a legendary figure requested a private meeting with him. It was Dion, the SS-rank captain of the FLA Guild, a master of the Shaolin 100-step Divine Fist. The man was a mountain of muscle shrouded in cigar smoke. He was the ultimate idol for every aspiring mercenary. Dion offered him a shortcut to the top. Join the guild as vice president and receive the legendary Great Pill. That treasure would grant him immense internal mana instantly. But the price was a contract of absolute, eternal submission. Sungmin saw the rot beneath the hero's mask. His former idol was nothing more than a predatory snake. He rejected the offer without hesitation, knowing Dion's dark reputation. The man was famous for crushing anyone who defied him. Trouble soon followed as a black mage's dungeon was discovered. Unfortunately, Dion's FLA guild was leading the entire operation. At least his new weapon was finally complete. A mithril spear coated in reinforced black steel, vibrating with power. It absorbed mana perfectly, making it the ultimate tool for his techniques. Finally, he felt ready to reclaim his lost glory. Nin noted that Sungmin possessed a strange, magnetic charm. But those words only fueled his growing suspicion. Was this newfound respect real, or just a trick of his regression? There was no time to ponder as the raid began. The timeline had shifted, and the event triggered 3 months early. To make matters worse, Dion was personally taking command. The butterfly effect was spinning out of control. Sung-min knew he desperately needed the Devlak armor to survive. A party of 27 warriors marched into the darkness. Even Lud joined the fray, despite his hatred for Dion. Sung-min was grateful for his friend's support. But as they entered the abyss, a sudden chill froze their hearts. Without warning, the A-rank vanguard was sliced clean in half. The heavy silence of the dungeon was shattered by screams. They had walked straight into a massive chimera ambush. Dion moved like a blur, obliterating a monster with a single punch. That was the power of the 100-step divine fist. Sung-min didn't lag behind, piercing a beast's skull instantly. Something was wrong. This dungeon was supposed to be empty in the past. This meant the Black Mage was waiting for them. Half the raid party was slaughtered within minutes. Only the FLA guild members remained suspiciously unharmed. Dion was a cold-blooded leader, protecting only his own men. The remaining independent mercenaries were paralyzed with pure terror. A female hunter named Jiang Moon begged to retreat, but the guild leader refused to leave without the treasure. They pushed deeper, stepping over the corpses of their fallen friends. Eventually, they reached a massive, ominous stone door. After a tense magical scan, they pushed the heavy gates open. The chamber beyond was a hollow, haunting void of silence. Sliced clean in half, the beast's corpse crushed a soldier, his scream echoing as they realized the nightmare. A pack of chimeras lay in wait, surrounding the group. The predators were ready for a bloody feast. With one strike, the 100-step divine fist obliterated the monster. His legendary martial arts remained absolutely peerless. Minho claimed another head with a single thrust. Yet, in his past life, this dungeon was empty. If the monsters are here, the dark mages too. Something was wrong. The air felt heavy. Half the army lay dead or dying. Only the elite FLA guild members remained completely unscathed and calm. That bastard Zahn only protected his own. Among the mercenaries, only one terrified A-rank girl remained alive. Jiang Moon begged to retreat, but the guildmaster refused to leave empty-handed after so much sacrifice. She feared the path ahead, but the thought of returning alone through the corpses was even worse. They soon reached a mysterious door. After checking for magic traps, the survivors prepared to enter. The massive doors creaked open, revealing an eerie, silent void. The chamber was hauntingly empty and cold. Sung-min rejoiced as he finally reached the secret chamber where the legendary demon armor was hidden. The layout matched the rumors perfectly. He pulled a specific book, and a hidden passage swung open. But as he entered, that bastard Zhang appeared behind him, unleashing a lethal, divine-level punch. Sung-min dodged the strike but tumbled down the stairs. Yong's henchmen had already cleared the area. Suddenly, Ludi appeared after taking down the guards, but he was immediately blindsided by Zhang. A single devastating blow sent Ludi flying. Even together, they couldn't hope to defeat this monster. Sung-min grabbed his injured friend and bolted deeper into the dungeon, desperate to find the armor. It was their only chance at survival. Finally, he saw it, but Zhang was already closing in. Lude stepped in to shield him, but Yong's fist pierced straight through his chest. Sung-min watched in horror as his comrade's lifeless body was tossed aside like worthless trash. Seeing his friend's final breath, Sung-min snapped and launched a desperate, rage-fueled counterattack. But Zhang read his movements effortlessly, dodging every strike before delivering a soul-crushing blow. Even using his spear to block, the impact sent Sung-min crashing violently into the stone wall. Zhang kicked him in the throat and stole his spear. Suddenly, Sung-min's blood touched the armor. The demon armor reacted instantly, binding to him as a terrifying wave of dark energy erupted. But the legendary power flickered and vanished in seconds. Both stood frozen in absolute confusion. Furious, Zhang resumed his assault, while Sung-min's internal energy remained completely stagnant and dead. Paralyzed by Lude's sacrifice and his own weakness, Sung-min waited for the final blow. Suddenly, a mysterious cloaked figure appeared. Yang shifted his focus, unleashing his ultimate technique. The stranger blocked the divine punch with a single finger. Sung-min's instincts screamed in terror. A black mage! His sixth sense warned him that this monster was on a different level. The dungeon master appeared, and in an instant, everyone was bound by invisible, magical chains. They were trapped like rats, destined to be used as sacrifices for the mage's chimera experiments. The mage removed his hood to reveal a skeletal face, the legendary lich, 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓. S-rank hunters were slaughtered like cattle. Even the guild leader was erased with a single gesture. Zhang couldn't break free from the chains. Seungmin collapsed, drowning in his own pathetic inadequacy. After all his efforts, he was still powerless to save the one comrade who stayed by him. I'm still just a weak larva, he realized, before his world finally faded into darkness. He woke up bound before the lich. No matter how he struggled, the magical chains held firm. This twisted monster sought to transcend his undead form and create life through dark rituals. He had traded everything for immortality just to find a way to become a mother. By sacrificing those who defied fate, he hoped to birth a new, perfect life form. 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓 placed a skeletal hand on Seungmin's face, chanting a terrifying, soul-piercing incantation. A massive, cosmic eye manifested from the void, staring down at the terrified sacrifice. The pressure was unbearable. Blood wept from Seungmin's eyes as the cosmic ritual reached its peak. Suddenly, the eye spoke. The sacrifice was rejected. 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓 let out a scream of disbelief. Enraged, the lich throttled Seungmin, demanding to know why the Demon King refused his soul. He delved into Seungmin's memories to find the truth. When Seungmin woke, he was alone. The trauma of the deaths and Zhang's mockery haunted him, echoing like a nightmare in his mind. The buzzing in his head was deafening, but he forced himself to stand up once more. I won't die here, he vowed, reclaiming his spear. Then, a mysterious voice echoed in his head. It was telepathy. Lloyd, the great golden mage, was desperately pleading for his help. In his past life, Lloyd disappeared here. Now he knew why the mage was dying in agony. Once he confirmed the lich was gone, Seungmin accepted the dying mage's desperate request. He descended into the dark abyss, finally meeting the legendary golden mage face to face. The battlefield lay in ruins, where the mercenary leader had been brutally wiped out in an instant. But that carnage paled in comparison to the sinister black heart pulsating with forbidden dark magic nearby. Seungmin unleashed a surge of sword chi, yet the orb evaded the strike and lunged toward him. Before he could even react, the cursed relic fused into his chest, beating with a terrifying rhythm. While Seungmin lay unconscious, the lich 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓, crrawled away, his mind shattered by a magical backfire. Drained of his mana, the villain began devouring the fallen mercenaries to replenish his withered life force. The leader Jian finally woke up, but he stayed hidden, paralyzed by the horror unfolding before him. 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓 transformed the living into dried mummies, quickly sensing the coward who was still breathing nearby. Just as a sacrifice was prepared, the legendary Archmage Loi appeared to settle a 10-year-old blood feud. Loi intended to crush the monster's bones and destroy the hidden vessel containing his cursed life essence. Jian desperately tried to suck up to the great mage, but he was a mere insect. Cornered and desperate, 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓 used the black heart to summon a terrifying new life form from darkness. An incomplete female chimera emerged, a monstrous vessel born from the most depraved of magical rituals. Though the creature was still imperfect, the villain possessed another black heart to complete his dark vision. Loi unleashed a massive golden surge, a peak-level spell designed to obliterate everything in its path. However, this simply nullified the divine attack, standing completely unharmed before the shocked Archmage. The monster then turned its hunger toward Jian, the man who falsely claimed to be invincible. In a flash of horror, the mercenary's heart was ripped out and devoured before Loi's very eyes. Loi was left gravely injured, but 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓 was forced to flee as his mana finally reached 0. The mage collapsed after begging Seungmin to destroy the heart, unaware it now lived within him. Grateful for his life, Loi promised to grant any favor the young warrior might desire in return. Seungmin decided to save this debt for later, knowing he would eventually need such powerful influence. 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒓𝒊𝒐𝒓 was once a high master of magic, turned fugitive after violating the world's most sacred taboos. It was Loi who had hunted him for a decade, finally trapping the traitor in this cave. In his previous life, Loi had died here, but Seungmin's regression had successfully changed fate's path. Because of his return, people meant to live were dying, and history was being violently rewritten. He once believed Jian was the ultimate peak, but this battle revealed the world's true monsters. There were entities hiding in the shadows far stronger than any legend he had ever known before. While wandering in search of power, the mysterious Yonghuan appeared. Sensing the boy's strange aura, He immediately recognized the boy's armor as a legendary masterpiece forged with demonic craftsmanship and malice. This was a soul-binding artifact, a tool used by demon kings to enslave the greatest of warriors. It granted explosive potential to the wearer, but the price was their eternal soul upon their death. Yet, the gear had no effect on Seungmin, as if his soul were a complete anomaly. Perhaps his spirit was already claimed, or he was too weak to even trigger the awakening process. Recalling his past rejection by the abyss, Jung Huan sealed the armor into a simple bracelet. Now, with a single spark of mana, Seungmin could call forth the demonic protection at will. Despite the Demon King's influence, Seungmin's mind remained unnervingly calm and unbroken by the madness. His soul belonged to a completely different level, leaving even masters of the craft in absolute awe. Seungmin confessed he had absorbed the Dark Heart, a treasure of the Lich surpassing all imagination. Fearing the divine consequences, Jung Huan suggested he seek answers from the high gods themselves. This led him to remember Mary's cryptic advice to find Deni, the ancient god of time. As he left, he was greeted by a fierce kick from the fiery and beautiful Scarlet. She had been worried sick about his return from the dungeon, masking her fear with temper. When she heard he was going to dream, she insisted on joining his dangerous journey regardless. Scarlet was no ordinary girl, but a genius mage whose potential was destined to shake the world. Befriending the Red Tower Master brings prestige, yet Seungmin senses a hidden motive. Is it his hidden potential, or something darker within him that draws them close? Lude's fate was sealed the moment he followed Seungmin into that cursed dungeon. To save Scarlet from a similar end, he must master the Black Heart's power. Claiming Ran's spoils, he acquired the legendary Shaolin pills and forbidden secret arts. He swallowed the minor pill, but his meridians remained eerily silent at first. Just as he doubted its potency, a blinding light erupted from his inner dantian. No meditation was required. His body hungrily absorbed the divine energy in seconds. With the Black Heart acting as a catalyst, he consumed the major pill next. His internal force skyrocketed, instantly propelling him toward the realm of a peak master. Using the scrolls as a pretext, he headed to Brandon to settle an old debt. Scarlet refused to stay behind, stubbornly insisting on joining his perilous new journey. Despite his protests, her resolve was unshakable, forcing them to travel as a duo. Their departure was met with horror. Presgun's ultimate chimera blocked their path. The monster's arm mutated into a massive claw, targeting Seungmin with murderous intent. It sensed the Black Heart. Presgun had barely survived his previous encounter with Lloyd. By infusing the heart into this beast, he created a weapon of pure chaos. Yet the creature was wild, driven by instinct rather than its master's failing commands. Its sole mission was to return to the dungeon and reclaim the remaining power. Defiant and uncontrollable, the beast followed the pulse of the heart instead of orders. Sensing its kin, the chimera lunged at Seungmin with a terrifying, bloodthirsty roar. Scarlet unleashed her flames, trying to incinerate the lashing tentacles of the mutated beast. It regenerated instantly. Seungmin realized this was the horror Lloyd had warned about. This monster had already brought grand mages to their knees and claimed many lives. Fear gripped him, but the thought of losing Scarlet ignited a new, fierce determination. Donning his magic armor, he prepared to clash against the chimera's relentless, crushing fury. Every strike was a blur of speed and raw power, pushing his limits further. Scarlet provided cover, her high-tier spells clashing against the monster's innate magic resistance. Her flames were unique, burning through the creature's defenses with legendary, celestial heat. In a moment of overconfidence, Scarlet nearly fell, but Seungmin's reflexes saved her. The chimera unleashed the 100-step divine fist, a skill stolen from fallen masters. Seungmin broke into a cold sweat. It was wielding the techniques of those consumed. Its overwhelming strikes felt like falling mountains, leaving him no room for a counter. "Who are you?" the beast hissed, only to be mocked by a battered Scarlet. Though burned and bleeding, she taunted the monster, acting as a perfect, risky distraction. While it was momentarily bound, Seungmin channeled his sword key for a strike. The creature severed its own legs to escape, a terrifying display of survival instinct. Within heartbeats, its limbs regrew, and the burns vanished as if they never existed. Such godlike regeneration must have a limit. Its mana could not be truly infinite. Their only hope was an all-out war of attrition to drain its energy dry. The chimera grinned, unleashing a mountain of mana that mocked their puny, desperate efforts. Seungmin was crushed and bloodied, Yet his spirit refused to break this time. His training at Mount Mush was intense, but he was still far from invincible. In his past life, he chose the easy road, losing everything he once cherished. He would not let history repeat. Cowardice was no longer an option for him. His spear grew heavy as the cicadas buzzed in his ears, but Sungmin's resolve only hardened. To stand among the elite, he refused to let another soul perish or fall himself again. Pushing past his limits, he channeled raw blade energy into a devastating, single-point spear thrust. The strike pierced deep, obliterating the chimera in a violent explosion of gore and dark magic. Even as the monster perished, the young warrior coldly declared his name. He was Lee Sung-min. Scarlet watched as the beast fled in terror, realizing the monster had finally become the prey. Waking 3 days later in a quiet village, Sung-min found himself back from death's door. Though his body was battered, his superhuman resilience was already knitting his wounds back together. His shattered bones fused in mere days, fueled by the mysterious power of the Black Heart. Under Scarlet's sharp interrogation, he was forced to reveal the secrets hidden within the dungeon. Feeling the vast energy inside him, she finally understood the impossible feats he had achieved. Scarlet hadn't fled because her past was forged in the fires of a forgotten, brutal war. She had watched her homeland burn, turning her loved ones into ghosts of a mass grave. To avoid that crushing grief again, she had built walls around her heart, shunning all companionship. Yet, seeing Sungmin's haunted expression, she couldn't bring herself to leave him behind again. As a genius mage, she wouldn't die easily. So she told him to stop his worrying. Fear of harming others consumed him, but the answer was simple: become strong enough to protect everyone. With his spirit renewed, Scarlet finally rested after 3 days of tireless vigil over his bedside. Clutching his dagger, Sung-min recalled the sensation of absolute power from their desperate battle. He attempted to manifest that force again, and shockingly, the small blade roared with massive energy. After a long, grueling journey, the duo finally arrived at the bustling trade city of Preston. Searching for a place to rest before their meeting with Shaolin, they entered a local tavern. The moment they sat, the cold gaze of hidden predators locked onto their every single move. Every expert in the room was sizing them up, their eyes sharp as unsheathed, deadly blades. True masters can hide their power, but Sung-min's newly awakened energy was a roaring bonfire. Lacking the refinement of a grandmaster, his overwhelming aura leaked out, drawing unwanted attention. A filthy thug approached to harass Scarlet, but she met his advances with cold, sharp contempt. She mocked him ruthlessly, sending the warrior into a murderous rage as he drew his steel. Before Sung-min could even move, the aggressor was blasted back by an unseen, powerful force. A mysterious coin struck the thug's head, delivered by a man playing the classic hero's part. This was Namgung Hwan, the rising star of the prestigious Namgung clan, and he was curious. Seeing an 18-year-old nearing the Grandmaster level, Hwan suspected he'd found a legendary figure. He called him the Little Heavenly Demon, causing Sung-min to choke on his tea. The Heavenly Demon's name carried weight, from the Blood Demon to the Mad Demon of old. But seeing Scarlet bossing him around, Hwan quickly realized this wasn't the feared Lee Hyun. The Little Heavenly Demon was rumored to be female, making Sung-min's identity a mystery again. Itching for a fight, the young noble challenged Sung-min to test their relative combat strength. Sensing Hwan's immense experience, Sung-min accepted, hoping to shatter his own current limits. The stakes were set. The loser would become the faithful subordinate of the glorious victor. They stepped onto the stage, Hwan with a wooden sword and Sung-min with a staff. The moment the match began, Hwan's playful smile vanished, replaced by a suffocating, sharp pressure. As the pinnacle of his generation, Hwan possessed the skill of a true martial arts genius. He moved with such blinding speed that he seemed to exist in 3 places at once. Sung-min countered with his shadowless step, surging forward like lightning to break the formation. But as their weapons met, Sung-min's energy was suddenly being devoured by Hwan's mysterious technique. He summoned every ounce of strength to break free, then countered with a lightning-fast strike that rang against the steel. Unleashing the 9 Heavens soul-chasing spear, he struck, but Hwan met the lethal blow head-on with his blade. Pride burned in Hwan's eyes. He refused to call the younger Sung-min his senior, charging forward with murderous intent. Sung-min leaped back, gauging the distance to swing his spear, yet Hwan evaded the strike with supernatural grace. He launched another assault, but the spear tip caught on the blade once more. Desperate, he triggered a counter vibration. Forcing a separation, Sungmin unleashed his second form, the splitting light spear, a barrage of relentless, piercing thrusts. But the impossible happened. Hwon's sword blocked every strike effortlessly. The wooden spear shattered into 1,000 jagged splinters. Sungmin hit the dirt. A cold blade pressed against his throat. Gritting his teeth, he surrendered to his senior. His veins bulged with silent fury. The path to true power was still long. Hwon offered a hand, helping him up. Sungmin's spear arts were formidable, but experience had bridged the gap today. Hwon knew the boy's potential was terrifying. Master your inner chi, Hwon advised, or your energy will be drained again. Their next destination, the legendary Shaolin Temple. To their surprise, they were both headed there. Scarlet woke to find the two men bonding, leaving her completely baffled. Elsewhere, a withered figure in deep meditation felt a disturbance the god of chaos was approaching, and he smiled darkly. Zhang Huan sought the Shaolin abbot, Master Buang, alongside disciples from the other prestigious great families of the realm. The Namgong, Jegal, Mo Yong, and Tang clans, all legendary names, traveled together, their shadows stretching across the martial world. Their leaders aimed for unity, but the young heirs were arrogant, each hungry for the title of the supreme commander. Since their powers were perfectly matched, they left the final decision to Master Buang, the only one they truly respected. Among them were Poison Butterfly Tang, Silver Dragon Eagle, and the peerless Snowflower, Sign, titans of the future generation, and the Dragon Sword, Nam Gong Huan. These were legends Sungmin remembered from his previous life's bloody history. Sungmin arrived, his surging internal energy making him the center of gravity. He'd bet everything on this meeting with Huan. An 18-year-old grandmaster? The prestige was worth the gamble. Sungmin had nothing to lose but his pride. They parted ways as Huan sought the abbot. Meanwhile, a feast was prepared for the guests, a simple, vegetarian monk's meal. Scarlet stared at the meatless dishes as if her entire world had just collapsed. This was a temple, after all. Sungmin planned to return John's stolen manuals and head to Dream Mall, but destiny had a different plan. A messenger arrived. The abbot requested a private audience. A young monk led him to a desolate, wind-swept clearing. Sungmin was wary. In his past life, he knew little of this man. Why would the abbot summon him now? He only knew Buang as the eccentric Buddha. Upon meeting, the abbot's eyes pierced through Sungmin's very soul. "You are the one favored by the god of chaos," Buang whispered. "An immortal entity beyond all human comprehension." The abbot couldn't explain further. If he could, he'd be a god himself, not a monk meditating in a cave. Sungmin demanded answers, but the air suddenly grew heavy. The reality around them began to warp and shimmer unnaturally. "Go north," the abbot commanded with a mysterious aura. "In 5 years, in the land of eternal frost, you'll find her." As the vision faded, Sungmin realized it wasn't Master Buang speaking, but an ancient soul residing within him. Even the abbot seemed confused by the sudden possession, yet he knew these words were the key to Sungmin's destiny. Sungmin returned the secret techniques. In exchange, the abbot tossed him a rare, glowing celestial pill of immense value. Such generosity for a common warrior was unheard of, but the abbot saw the shadow of a legend in him. Then came a shock. Li Haon had been here. When Sungmin pressed for details, the abbot gave a final challenge. "Defeat my disciple, and the truth is yours." From the shadows, a figure emerged, radiating a sharp, disciplined pressure. It was Zhou Huai, the rising star of Shaolin's next generation. The true battle was only just beginning. Don't forget to like and share for more epic chapters. Your support keeps this legendary journey going.